So I'll quickly introduce the panel. So we have Dean Nattu with us. So like just to introduce Dean Nattu, I think if for the people who do not know, Dean Nattu has been very integral in kind of like increasing the length and width of the community that our founders have created and the BITSian Voicer group as well. He's been one of the most active people, and not just from his batches, from the latest batches as well. He is one of those people, I think, among the entire alumni group that everybody knows, and people know that how quickly people can connect and reach out to him whenever they need help. Uh, Along with that, we have the BITSian founders. These are the people and the men of batch of 1987. Love so much, given everybody a platform where they can connect with the BITSians, kind of making this alumni group the biggest and the largest, most connected group in India.
We also have with us Mr. Srikanth Krishnamurthy, who holds a degree in chemical engineering and in management from Pilani. He's founder director of BITSAA India and someone who is always available for BITSians who are in need. We have with us Divya and Sowmya, who are founders of BITSian Women for Each Other. And they started this group in January, and in a short while, it has over 3,600 members. Next, we have with us is Lucky Murari, who is the founder of BITSians for Each Other group, the widely used group on Facebook, which has over 34,000 members now. Over to you,
Vaibhav. That was a genius name.
That kind of
Lucky. Love the name of the group.
Yeah, I think the first question we'll start with Lucky. Like we have heard multiple names, and I think there was how many of people know that Lucky, Murari, and Lakshman is like the same person. So like we never knew. We thought there are two founders for the BITSian for Either group, and among all the names that people call you, which is the one that you love the most, and which is the one that people use mostly?
So for me, it's Lucky. This name was not when he was in BITS. In BITS, my nickname was Sala. So, Sa and La, Sala. That's how it was. Lucky was my internet name in the sense that I used it on Facebook way before Facebook was professional or very common. So I just continued that. And yeah, that's how it went on and the name caught on. So I was like, okay, fine. People have caught on, so I didn't feel a need to change that name. In my professional circles, I use my original name, which is Santosh Lakshman, but then everywhere else, I want people to refer me as Lucky. So that's the name I prefer. Yeah, and good times.
Definitely carrying out the luck with you. I have one question for the founders. Like we definitely thought that you guys are from the same batch, but how did you guys actually meet and became friends? Like this kind of whole entire circle wherein you guys go and found BITSAA, there has to be some connection which you guys must have built. So what's the story behind that?
You want me to go first?
I'll tell you. Yeah, go ahead, Venu.
Oh no, Arora.
I was going to say we all owe money to Nagarji.
The common thread.
I'm going to say all of this have been in the ACB for once in a semester. So.
No, that's not me.
Gaurav was in it for 4 semesters. So Gaurav and I obviously were wingies. We did eco together. And Arora was the secretary of the music club, and I was backstage. So we kind of obviously knew each other very well. But the 87 group is a very close-knit group, and a lot of us actually moved to the US in 1994, 1995 timeframe. And you know, we kind of used to meet even before BITSAA was formed. I remember like 1996 New Year party in my 2-bedroom apartment in Stamford. We had like 100 people. It was chaotic, but it was fun. And you know, I think the people who brought us together are Arora and his you know, the music club, because most of the clubbers, Arora, Daga, Das, all of these guys were in New Jersey, and we used to meet up quite often.
Even in back then, when the community just started, you guys were like having hundreds of people attending these gatherings as well.
This was before we were even organized. We used to have 100 people attend like house parties, right? But when we got organized,
I
it
love
was
house parties. I think people come in for alcohol anytime.
Absolutely. So I remember I used to carry my guitar in my trunk, car's trunk, because I knew that if there is a BITSian gathering, we would sit down and we would have a common thing around us, which was music. You know, you start playing. I was never a singer, but everyone would start singing, and that really brought us together because we would sing the song, from the days at in Pilani, and I think that really brought us together. And I think before BITSAA was formed, we were actually trying to make a more formal attempt of getting the BITSians together. Venu was coordinating that, and he and I spoke, and he said, "Hey, can you coordinate the music night piece of it?" And he and Gaurav were having separate conversations. So we were anyway, even before the whole idea of BITSAA in a formal setup came up, we were going to organize a music night in New Jersey so that we could get everyone together. So I think that at least the common thing between Gaurav and Venu, or Gaurav as in Anupendra and Venu, was eco. For me, I knew the folks because Gaurav used to come to the music club. He, I think, wanted to be a drummer, and he used to carry some nice.
Not a drummer. I used to play the damru.
Oh, damru, yeah, obviously. D for damru, D for drum. I know you were aspiring to be a drummer.
He sucked at both.
Aspiring to be a drummer, but he used to be in the music club. I also spent my first sem actually in the backstage. So I think there was probably music was a common theme, and that brought us all together. And I think Venu's desire to have all the BITSians together at all time, and Venu's desire to have BITSian together, and I think Gaurav's energy to make things happen really brought us all, three of us
I
together.
think there was a catalyst, and the catalyst was a classmate of ours actually in the eco batch. So there was a person by the name of S.S. Sheshadri, who was very close to all of us, and Arora would come to her wing, and Arora knew Sesha as well too. And actually, Sesha was in the US, and he lost touch with some of us who were in the US at that time. I was not in the US; I used to live in England. And Sesha, we don't know why, went back to India and actually committed suicide. And that really hit me hard. So I had written a letter to his dad and spoken to his dad when I was in England, and I wrote to him on behalf of all of us. And I always felt really bad. So when I visited the US, I was actually talking to another classmate of ours called Piggy, and we were talking about the fact, and Piggy said, you know what, I don't know how we lost touch, because if we had not lost touch with Sesha, maybe it'd still be alive today. So that sort of stayed in my mind. So when I moved to the US, I remember, I may have been, it was just about close to 9/11. And I actually sent an email to, or maybe a phone call to Venu, and I said, maybe we should, it'd be great to do a scholarship in Sesha's name in Pilani. I'd had this sort of thought in my head for probably 4 years before I came here. And and Venu said, you know what, let's do a music night. And that's sort of how Venu said, let's do a music night. And then Arora's the guy with the guitar. So actually that was the catalyst to how we started working on this. And then it's just a total coincidence. Another tragedy occurred. Another guy from 87 batch died in 9/11. And that sort of led to a lot of people getting interested in coming to this music night, and we raised money for him also. His batch got involved. And suddenly it became kind of more of a movement. So when we did the first music night, actually Venu, none of us had a lot of money on our hand. And I think Venu was on the hook for $10,000, which he didn't have at the time, or something crazy like that. We'd all just started working, I think probably a year or 2 years. And but we decided to do it the BITSian way, just let's do a music night. And we had the music night, and a lot of money was raised at that. And then we formally announced BITSAA at that event. And that's how BITSAA got sort of formed, was that music night, with the formal BITSAA International got formed that night. Through the sort of the tragedies of two people, and that's why the theme of BITS was always after that about, you called it very well, BITSians for each other, but the idea was exactly that, was how do we help other BITSians get together, so something like Sesha's death doesn't happen again. We couldn't have prevented 9/11, but we may have prevented a death like Sesha's.
It was a double. So, you know, Sesha, and then but as we were planning something for Sesha, Vamsi, and as we were planning something for Vamsi, his wife committed suicide as well.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we were moved, all right? And this was the, you know, you should also understand in terms of timing, 2001, you know, internet era, just .com just coming together. We were just connected on emails, and, you know, we created a website, the 501c3. Everything happened in quick time, but it was very difficult for us to create a 501c3 because post 9/11, they put a halt on 501c3s, which required money transfers overseas. So it was pretty intense. You know, we needed to like do a lot of paperwork. We actually got a pro bono lawyer who helped us out. Garo, myself, and Sandeep went through the, you know, the red tape, the bureaucratic part of it. And then we launched, and, you know, after that, I think first 4 years we ran this, and every year it kept getting bigger. Like by the time we were done as trustees in 2004, it had 32 chapters. It was just growing. I think the need of the demand for BITSAA was always there. We just happened to be the people driving it, but passengers were ready, right? Because prior to us, there were efforts like this, but they were very like ad hoc. There was no connectivity. So we had something called BASE, the BITS alumni something student effort or something. It was very small. It was, you know, Sat Khurana and 60s batches guys. But when 90s batches got on the bandwagon, the 80s, late 80s batches, now we're talking thousands and thousands of people who are here for, you know, the computer science jobs and IT jobs. The momentum just took over. We didn't have to do much. It just grew.
Like,
I mean, we did a lot,
I always had this
but it
question.
grew.
The momentum would have been primarily from US driven, because it would have been very difficult since it was just .com boom just coming in. How did you guys connect with people in India? And
So
how did BITSAA grow up here?
So I was the CIO of BITSAA, or like one of my roles of CIO and webmaster of BITSAA. So we just created Yahoo groups, and I am good with Google and Yahoo. So I just searched. So that first database of famous BITSians, the first database of BITSians in academia, I created that just by emailing people. So Venu has this uncanny knack of knowing everybody. So Venu knew this guy, who knew that guy, who knew that guy, and he's telling them to join this Yahoo group. And then we put the Yahoo group on the website, and then people started clicking and joining, and thousands of people we had 1.50 chapters. We had a chapter in Moscow with 6 people in it who didn't know each other existed. So, I mean, it probably doesn't exist anymore.
And that actually,
like, oh my God.
That restricted Venu's entry into all airports. He started feeling this thing. He would fly into an airport somewhere in the world, and people would say, "Are you Venu, sir?" And obviously, if you ask Venu's wife Kranti, she was very upset about it, but Venu just loved the whole idea.
Yeah, I think he has grown. That's a very inspiring story in itself. Like, moving on to like the other group as well. So we have Sowmya and Divya with us. Like, how I hear that you guys are also from the same batch. Is that true? And how did you guys know each other, and how did it get there in creating the group?
She's actually my senior. She's 2003 batch joining. I'm 2004.
Have you also been to Antarctica, Sowmya?
Yeah,
no,
no,
that's
No, I
only
know you
Divya.
have Divya. I said, have you gone
that's
as well?
me.
No. She's the global trotter. Only global
I know
trotter.
Divya's also 30 under 30. So
Yeah. She has a lot of achievements in her belt.
Yeah, and I want to share that, you know, the reason I went to Antarctica was also because I got support from the BITSAA Silicon Valley chapter back then. And, you know, that kind of helped me come back. And also, like, my journey with BITSAA started doing the whole Miles program and, like, setting up the travel scholarship, you know, like giving back what I got. And so my journey with BITSAA has been about learning, okay, how the BITSAA community can help each other. And that's how, you know, for a long time, I always kept thinking, what else can I do? And you know, when Sowmya and I met this year at the BGM, and we knew each other for a very long time. We even did a BITSAA 5K run in Hyderabad, and you know, especially
Yeah, it was
Hyderabad,
up and down.
Hyderabad BITSians Day events, we would always meet. But I think the true connect happened in BGM, and I think
Yeah.
one of the best things that we were able to kind of put together was the idea that, you know, we as women have been able to kind of grow and nurture each other over the years. Like, you know, you see the value of it, of course, when you're back in Meera Bhavan, you know that it's always there. It's like a safety net. You know, there are people all around you. You know, one person has an issue, 5 people come over to your room and take care of you, right? And I think I was missing that aspect. But also, I think when we both were discussing what we were, you know, feeling about, like how we would like to bring together a lot more people. The idea came about in a way that, okay, let's do something on the lines of BITSian for each other and create a women's group.
Yeah.
And yeah, Sowmya, you want to add to that?
Yeah, so what happened was we knew that BITSians for each other was a great platform to connect and all, but as women, we sometimes need a lot more nurture, a safe place to talk, because I think we can uplift each other a lot more personal connect. So that is why we also kept the group like very specific, who is joining, is it only BITSian women, alum women, because we want that sort of support. So the forum was created from that. And in BGM, I think I talked to Sharon Korean, Anu Kendri, ma'am. They're all big influencers in BITSAA itself, in getting together groups. So these guys, Divya, everyone, the platform was there. Like, people were ready to do it. That's why on a Tuesday morning, when I did put up the group and send it to all these guys saying, just promote it, we started getting requests like 500 people joining like in a day. Like within 2 weeks, I think we grew to 1.52K mark. That was the speed at which we grew, because as BITSAA, the founders of BITSAA had said, Venu and all, that the market was ripe for it. They wanted it, just that you were driving it. So it was just that we put up a group and we put up this forward. But there were people really wanting it. And women were sharing already very, very powerful, strong stories about themselves. It was what it was. It's a safe place for women to talk and to support each other and to grow about anything.
Srikanth, when it comes to supporting BITSian, I think you are one of the most active person on the Facebook. Whenever we see any post regarding any person who wants a plasma donation in this COVID times, or if someone has any security concerns, you have always been on the front line. So we just wanted to know, what is your enthusiasm and motivation behind helping so many BITSians?
So the point is just people, right? So the BITSian forum, as Venu and Anupendra and people talked, the BITSian forum is so powerful. I still feel that the power of the forum is unutilized. At the same time, this has to be utilized with caution. See, there are so many service organizations around and they are there to do a lot of stuff. But where is your networking coming in is your thought process. So when people say they need help, I simply seem to connect instantly with someone else who could render that help. And I do run my own databases of people whom I met. I don't delete things on my phone. So my phone today has got 9,500 contacts, and it's a challenge every time I change phones. So the point is, I seem to remember at that point of time, I seem to remember, hey, I know this guy who can help. So the point here is the entire BITS network is about people, right? So let me explain this to you a bit more from a personal. I'm very passionate about the university, and I will hate it if anyone wants to pull it down on any forum for any reason. See, we have our own issues. It's not that, but putting it down in public is not the right way to do things. So during this COVID, some BITSian from US called me saying there is this batch of 40 tourists stuck in Delhi without food for 10 days. I was sitting in Chennai. So I called up Pradeep Sethi in Delhi and I said, hey guy, what can we do? He said, give me the address. And he asked his brother-in-law to go give them his credit card to swipe for groceries for 10 days. I mean, this is the BITSian connect and trust. See, no questions are asked whether these guys are deserving, what is their income and all that. See, BITSians were always ready to help. The point is if we should trust each other, and that's essentially the fundamental of the entire help mechanism that we have. So that's where I come from. I'm passionate about the university, I'm passionate about the alumni, and trust is what works in almost all cases. And as people have said, BITSians don't need a reason to meet. You simply say there's a BITS meet, everyone will land up. You need music, you need booze, nothing more. You don't need reasons beyond this to meet, network, and catch up with people of good old times.
If I can
I
add
think
to
the
what
founders
Chimpu,
got that figured out.
yeah. So Srikanth, we call him Chimpu, sorry.
Chimpu's the guy. Yeah.
Early on, right? So you asked a question, how did we bridge the divide between, BITSAA International and BITSAA India? And I remember one of the early initiatives, right, was, of course, the BITSAA International was for batchmates. So, people, alumni, world over were interested. But Srikanth started something called BIT Tsunami. The tsunami, which had, obviously swept across the south of India. Chimpu and a bunch of his batchmates in Chennai, they started BIT Tsunami, and they said, hey, can we raise some money for this? And I remember across the world, like, we were trying to figure out what can we do for BIT Tsunami. Now, BIT Tsunami did not actually involve BITSian community. It involved, a non-BITSian community. However, it was a BITSian initiative. It was extremely successful. There's a Guinness book that stands following that initiative. And I remember in New Jersey, we did, like, BITSAA International did a cricket game. We raised like $2,000 or $3,000 from that cricket game. We had Merrill Lynch as a sponsor. It was like a phenomenon those days. And what BITSAA Chennai did, following that, BITSAA Hyderabad with Ashok Agarwal. There are a bunch of people, some key chapters, Pradeep Sethi in Delhi. All of these folks were like, the energy is cumulative, right? It just builds up and then it becomes a juggernaut. So Srikanth, definitely one of those guys.
I remember that BIT Tsunami, the way it was organized, like for us, we had reports. They told us, okay, we want to fix X boats. You want to plant 250,000 trees. And what was amazing about it is, and I think credit to Srikanth and everybody else who's involved with it, but for 1 year, they followed up, because I remember people saying that they came for the BIT Tsunami, people threw blankets, whatever, and everyone was gone. But BIT Tsunami stayed for a year and redeveloped. Like, I think they took over a couple of villages or something and redeveloped and put things back, which was, I think, amazing for people who give money, even if small sums of money, for them to see that whole, the progress over a year of what was going on and how well it was run. And I think BIT Tsunami actually led to something called BITSaid. And after that, Sudeep Datta created BITSaid, which became, and we, again, the job of Central, or like the three of us, tended to be to take these things, initiatives, and blow them worldwide. And BITSaid was like mostly in India, but it was a way for all sorts of people to volunteer to join BITS after graduation. And in fact, I remember I was involved with BITS to MBA or BITS to B school. And I told guys, you join BITSaid and your community service for business school application is taken care of. Because you join BITSaid, there'll be tons of things that you can do and you can write about them. You don't have to worry about how to get things, because it was so well organized. BITSaid allowed hundreds of BITSians to get together, mostly in India, and actually do social service, which was, again, very, we need booze, we need a cause, and we need some music. And I think
that is correct.
BIT Tsunami, let me just share a bit of nostalgia. BIT Tsunami was a formal trust that we formed. And for the first time, this was a trust that we formed which had a closure clause on it as well. We said the trust will close after 5 years or 7 years after the purpose is solved. It was not an endless trust that is normally formed by many people. This was point number one. And point number two, BITS gave us full support. We had a practice school running in the trust for 3 years. And we had 4 students stationed in the village which we were doing rehab and development. So BIT Tsunami owed itself to a meeting that Sudeep Jain had called when he was managing director of LCOT. Sudeep is from the administrative services, so he could not directly involve himself, but he was one of the prime engines in BIT Tsunami fundraising. And the concept was this: as I said, everyone is there to do everything, but what are we doing unique? We said, we will do complete rehabilitation and development. It is not providing aid. We will not limit ourselves on the short term, we will do long term. So we, in fact, as you mentioned, we gave away so many goats, we gave away so many cattle, we gave away so many boats and nets. These were the livelihood mechanisms. But we rebuilt 40 houses, we rebuilt 5 schools in that region, and we gave that region a cyclone shelter costing 50 lakhs. We gave the region 3 cyclone shelters in the long run. So this was a huge program which was funded by corporates but executed by BITSians. So that is a small distinction. There were no outsiders involved in the execution. The development and the execution was BITSians. Funding was by the corporates, and we did 4 crores then. And we brought technology to the table. We did GPS mapping of the villages, which was unheard of in 2004, 2005. And they had scientific evidence that there was plantation on the seashore coast which saved 1 village. So that was the reason for the Guinness record and the Guinness plantation. We said maximum number of plantation by 1 village in 24 hours. We will try to better the record. So we did something like 2,80,000 saplings were planted on October 2nd, 2005. Incidentally, that's the day my son was born, and I was stuck in Chennai and I was not there. But the Guinness record still hangs in my office because my office was a trust office. So as people who come and say, hey, what is this doing here? I said, this is the bit of CSR that we do. I am a family-run company, and that's what I do. That's what the company does, because the company was supporting the BITSian Trust for 8 years without any office expenses. The entire thing we bore in terms of giving people systems. There were 1 or 2 employees housed inside the office and all that. It went to the extent, let me tell you, my dad, who's no more now, used to sit across the table. We used to sit across the table each other. And he used to tell me, are you running the company or are you running the trust? Why are you coming to work? I mean, that was the amount of involvement I had on a day-to-day for first 3 years. See, we, you know, the trust, that's key. I mean, n number of times, I think I cannot reiterate the trust. The collector of Nagapattinam then was Dr. J. Radhakrishnan, who's heading the COVID effort for Tamil Nadu today. He calls me and he says, hey, there is this meeting that we have called in my office tomorrow for a review of the project. But I know you guys, you are university guys, you are doing this wonderful work. Just have someone attend. I don't want you traveling from Chennai. That's the trust he had in us. We kept his office updated with monthly reports. We kept his office updated with monthly reports and stuff like that. So that is precisely the trust is what brings all of us, binds together apart from the other relationship that we have. Yes, please.
I think we all have major networking lessons to learn from you, how to engage others. Moving to Dean Nattu sir, so like I'm from the junior batches of Pilani, and we have always heard the word Dean Nattu. So I was just curious how Professor Natarajan is called Dean Nattu.
Oh yeah. See, to begin with, they told a story of BITSAA International. I think I must mention, Venu had a small dream cricket setup in which he used to auction small souvenirs of cricketers and used to raise funds to, do some alumni activities. I think he didn't mention it. Tum sabki kundali main rakhta hu. Right.
Thank you.
And Anupendra mentioned the Yahoo group. Nattu was there in all the Yahoo groups across all the country and all the world. Right. I was a member of all the Yahoo groups. And I think I did some news wires on under 30 awards, etc. 30 under 30. I remember Anupendra calling Nattu, it is a PR work here for bits, not for, the award. So, ऐसे हो गया, but 2004, until then I was a BITSian. My own silver jubilee happened in 2004, and suddenly Dean DLPD Natarajan had to wear a bit t-shirt and move around the campus with his batchmates and enjoy the 3 days, October 1, 2, 3, 2004. that transformed Dean Natarajan into Dean Nattu.
Yes.
That is the
I have seen
beginning of.
pictures of that.
I
I
suddenly,
think in sandpaper you might have published them also.
yes, I suddenly realized that apart from the jeans I was wearing, there was one hidden gene in my body called proud to be BITSian, and then no stopping. And
So
no,
in
but
this, let me add to this a bit before he continues. He's being modest. He was a full professor of chemical engineering, and he became dean of distance education. So the
Yes.
dean prefix comes from there. He was a senior officer of BITS, and the dean prefix came from there because there are a lot of people from other batches here who may not know that. So he was teaching chemical engineering in BITS after he finished his practice school stint at Kolkata.
And the reality is that when BITSAA International started, we were very tight network with BITSAA India and whatever groups you could find all over the world. But our connection to BITS, the friendly connection to BITS was through Nattu, was not through the official BITSAA at BITS Pilani. So Nattu was our de facto BITSAA International Dean also at BITS Pilani for many years.
Oh, wow.
I think initially the biggest connection that we had was if we had to send some money, how do we do that? And for that, we had some official channels because it had to go into the right accounts and everything. But everything else, informally, guidance, what's happening in there, I think Gaurav is right. The Nattu was our way to kind of have that connection to Pilani.
No, even today, you put a Google search for a Dean BITS Pilani, my name will crop up in the first page. 10 years back. But something quickly I want to tell is, see, the present generation of BITSians, they are also passionate, but one thing is, I find they look at the alumni only for transactional purposes. That is a very sad thing. हमें कुछ चाहिए, काम की मतलब की बात करता है, काम हो गया खत्म, राइट, रिश्ता खत्म. That's bad. I think transactional attitude to alumni connectivity is not a good sign. They must look at it transformational. I remember the original BITSAA had class notes where people used to keep regularly updating status. Somebody got married, somebody became a CEO. We used to get these things from class notes. आजकल कुछ नहीं पता चलता है यार. राइट, किसी का शादी हो गया, पोता हो गया, अब कुछ नहीं पता चल रहा है. क्लास नोट तो कम से कम कॉलेज में तो you never attended class and wrote notes. At least in website you write class notes to keep updating.
So Dean,
I agree with
actually
Dean
here I have some.
So Dean Nattu, do you think?
Just to add, sorry to interrupt, Ayush. Just to kind of add to that, I think that is an important piece that I always say, that the relationship that we have formed by all going to BITS, and obviously now it's BITS more than Pilani. I think that relationship has to go beyond an economic relationship. It should not be who can help me get into the right company or who can help me find the right job. I think the bonds that we have formed together should be leveraged. So I agree with Nattu over here that all of us BITSians should look at warming much for stronger relationship. And I know that I personally, since we had our Silver Jubilee, I've had the opportunity to reconnect with some of the BITSians. And as a part of that now, we're not speaking work, we're not speaking business, but once in a week, we actually get together for meditation. Now, meditation is bringing us together. It's a setup in which people are sharing their thoughts and ideas. It's a very open communication. I think the reason everyone is open with each other is because we have that common connection of being BITSian, even if those bonds were formed 25 years ago. So I agree with Dean Nattu. Don't look at the BITSian network as only for work, only to progress in your profession, but look at an overall set of these.
I think I'm a good
have these in
example of
discussion
that.
here. Yeah.
I was gonna say that
Go ahead.
I was just like, I had just graduated and I had no idea what BITSAA was or anything, and the Silicon Valley chapter just came up and said, okay, if you want to go somewhere, we'll help you. And I think that trust process, I didn't believe that somebody would trust me so easily and be able to support that process. So I think what we're talking about in the discussion today about trust and going beyond that transaction need to go to an emotional level. I've met Venu and, so many of you across the years in different parts of the world. And one thing that keeps me bringing back to BITSAA to keep giving and doing is the idea that, I know I'll always get more than I give. And I think that value is coming through in a lot of ways. I think younger batches will eventually see that as things progress.
Actually, here I have something to add here because I have had similar discussions to this with the people who are actually not involved with BITSAA. It's, I think, because of social media and all, we take a little bit of our connect for granted. We are in connect with our batchmates and everything for our friendly and other relationship. But what happens is after 6-7 years, after you establish yourself a little bit in work and everything, yes, we look about for that. Then people start looking to connect with BITSAA. So if you see my 2000s series of batches are starting to connect more. 2011, 12 are connecting more. But the recent batches are not yet coming. But in another 5, 6, 7 years, they come back because they're in a giving space. They want to do something. The nostalgia is there. But right out of passing out, there are so many other ways to be in touch with the people you really want that because our batches are much bigger now. So I've seen that disconnect because it takes about 6, 7 to 10 years to get to the point where you are like, okay, I want to be more involved. What is the chapter activities around me? Where can I help? Where can I go in? That space comes after a while.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sowmya. This is exactly what I was going to ask Dean Nattu. What do you think is the reason behind that? And I think you have captured it quite beautifully.
So I would like to,
just to add the perspective on BITSAA side. I think there are very new folks coming in. I joined BITSAA in my second year. Arya joined in her first or second year herself.
In my
there are
second year.
That we have seen there are quite a lot of people who are kind of feel that connect since the beginning and want to join and be a part of the group, not just to make it a transactional value and rather be more involved in the family and kind of see what kind of people we have and interact more with them. I think that's building with time and some people are definitely there. And Arya is a great example.
So this brings me to the question, apart from say we have conferences or meetups like BGM where you can actually communicate and meet people across different batches. So because here we are highlighting apart from the transactional basis of relationship that BITSians are now sharing with each other, how do you think that we can improve on the more these relationships on more of an informal level, bring it to an informal level? So what are your inputs on that?
Actually, it already happens, I believe. I mean, people are informally forming. There are so many BITSian groups and their own batchmates, and also they are not connected to BITSAA International or BITSAA India in a formal way, but they are connected through their own Facebook groups. I know 2004 itself has 4 other Facebook groups and so many WhatsApp groups. So it's there. And then they start bringing in people city-wise. If you don't have a formal group, you have an informal group. So, I mean, it is happening at different ways, just not formally, I believe.
That just gave me an idea. Actually, I just got an idea. I have a statement I say all the time. I said, BITS Pilani, it was always about the music. Now, that may not mean something to everybody. That's what. So, I had insisted when we were going back to Pilani for reunion, that's Arora carry a guitar from America to the bus journey that was going to happen from Delhi to Pilani. He didn't, but he got his cousin in India, I think, to give him a guitar and all that. He had a guitar,
my niece.
Right?
I got the guitar. Niece. That's the important thing.
Right? I said, we got to have 2 guitars in the bus. It's an absolute requirement. Guitar hona chahiye, guitar hona chahiye, guitar hona chahiye. But it's because I've always felt that Pilani is always about the music. So, I think the BITSian Day was a brilliant idea. It came up, I think, a batch, somebody in the US had come up with BITSian Day. Kandu, Shashikanth Kandelwal on the West Coast had come with this idea of BITSian Day. And I think that's brilliant because that's a chance where batches get together, people get together, and they talk. And sometimes it's informal, like in Boston. This year will be different. but we have a drink. Now, I think just my thought is, I think we should organize a music day where people just get together informally in houses and connect over music. So I think the only thing, I think connecting with each other through our interests is the way. So I was fortunate when we started Sandpaper 2.0, which was our sort of off-campus version. I got to know incredible BITSians who didn't lead the traditional life. And when I started 30 under 30, I met people like Divya, and I think, Lucky, are you 30 under 30 as well? I think Lucky might be, it was an
Lucky
SLP
got
organization.
unlucky.
He was another organization. But BITSians are so interesting and different than most people because we're kind of weird, we're a little bit odd. We have different things that get us interested and excited. And I think the chance to learn about them is the way to go. And I think when you sit down with music and some alcohol and in informal settings, you'll talk about the other stuff. Like we have this, Arora talked about Gyan with Guntax, which is a meditation group where I don't do any meditation anymore. I just participate in the conversations. But it's amazing because it's such a different conversation than anything else. And I think that's what makes us different. And anything we can do to meet informally in smaller groups would be amazing.
I think,
Sharma, to
I would
add
just
to
add
that
to
point,
that.
Sharma, to add to your point, in Bangalore chapter, because I'm also taking care of the BITSAA Bangalore chapter, we have a brilliant group called Bindas BITSians. Now, there are people in their 80s and 90s group, 70s, 80s, 90s group who get together only for music. So anytime they play, they have a lot of informal sessions, and many times they open it for many other BITSians. There are at least easily 150, 200 people who get together for sessions. Apart from that, there are these groups. So it's a lot more informal. And recently we had a breakfast before the COVID played into place. Breakfast meetup in BITSAA Bangalore. So we do that, monthly breakfast meetups. So during that time, we got 2018, 19 new batches coming in. Now they are not completely into BITSAA activities or something, but what we did say was, I'm a musician, so we were actually planning a music night, getting also new BITSians in place, but obviously due to COVID, that went away. I am not part of that. I just got people together. No. But they were saying that people from Ragamalika and all across the last 5 years, 2019, 18, 17, 16. Now this group was starting their own music club where they would get together alternate weekends to just play music and get together. Now they were not even all from the same batches. They just got to know that they all play instruments, getting together informally and doing it. And we, Bangalore, even BITSAA Bangalore was not aware of this. So it is happening in very small scales, but due to, I think, size, there's not information out there about that.
I think we should do this. I think we should do a music, we should declare a music night and encourage people to just get together one night of the year. Because we did our music night, but I sort of got people, it took a while to get people started, but we had it every year. People look forward to it. It'll be there one day of the year and all the musicians will prepare for it that day. And we get together in small groups, big groups, and it'd be really cool to post these things around the world. I think, and we were always about the music at the heart of this. So, and I think that's where our conversations been. And the alcohol, of course. But
So
the last event we had was Beer Pe Lacha, which was a music event.
Yes.
So talking about scale and
we can take this up.
So,
now moving to the next question, which is to Lucky. So Lucky, you have created the most widely engaged platform BITSians for each other. So what was your motivation and idea behind coming up with this group? And also you have monitored it since the inception. Even during the tough times like fee hikes, you have kept strict rules for the group. And
he did put up with me. He put up with me, so that's good.
Over to you, Lucky.
Yeah. So the group it just happened. What happened? There was a LinkedIn group called BITSians for each other. The group, the name is not from me. There was a LinkedIn group called BITSians for each other. Obviously, because it's on LinkedIn, it had no traction way back in 2011. So what I thought is, okay, let's just put it in Facebook, because Facebook is the place where people come in and get together. And one of the reasons at that time, I was also involved with BITSAA at that time of the period, but I wanted it to be independent of BITSAA. In fact, that's what is happening, right? BITSAA is an official arm. Wherever you need a rally for call for multiple people coming in and doing things, makes sense. But what about the simple small things where you don't need a group, an official effort required, but just a small help? Like I just need some medicines transferred from Hyderabad to Bangalore. Could be as simple as that. Or I need a referral in a job portal. But then for that kind of need, I cannot go to the official routes of BITSAA and get those things. So you need some part place. And I saw that BITSians for each other LinkedIn group, which was created, is as that need. So, and I thought, bring that to Facebook. Let people have anything. People come together to help each other. And when you say help each other, it's not only a transactional help, but also emotional help. That means an older batch person probably also has needs to connect back with his roots, right? So there are always those kinds of things. And then the one thing which I think connects all of us together is Dean Nattu. And Dean Nattu was one of the first members, probably, I think number one, I guess. I just added him, and then he added like more than 200 people over there.
So, like,
Thank
what
you.
was,
Probably
what was the moment when you felt accomplished that you created this platform?
So at that point, it was not a platform at all. But when Dean came in, I would call it Nattu effect, that suddenly people started joining in. That was like within a week or month, I think we crossed over 1,000. And way back in 2011, so that time, this was not so common. Then that is when I started, like, it was still informal for an year. We just said, do anything. You don't need any rules or anything. We are just BITSians. Only rule is that whenever anyone joins, initially I used to get like people, anyone can add anyone, but then non-BITSians started joining. So that's when we started, like, I said, like, only admin can approve them, and you need to give your ID and the campus. That is when I say I would be okay with it. And most likely our ID format is so cryptic that random people can't put that number in. So
when was it when the group started booming up? Like, you must have seen, like, we have now 30,000 people almost. So when was it that it actually started growing from 1,000 to like exponentially to that a huge number?
So it was almost that since that explosion, it always was there because people found value with that group. And the thing is, initially people started asking questions more relevant for the younger batches. But then there were places where the older batches, I can remember Madhava and I think the other senior person is Rakesh, I guess. They started sharing their nostalgia also and added their older, like, pics they have in their almirah somewhere hidden somewhere, and they started sharing with others. And there was one post about first strike in bits way back in 1974, I guess, if I remember correctly, and then first students union, etc. And that made senior people also joining. So it was in the first year itself people started joining in. Now the explosion was always there. Adding people was never a problem for this group because BITSians were always ready to come in. It's about how to maintain the expectations and get this thing. The first thing is, lot of content becomes irrelevant for the other people. When the group became 10,000 people, it's very difficult to maintain relevance in the sense that, let's say, what I post with respect to, let's say, I way back, that was just 3 years out of the campus, right? I could talk about my MBA aspirations, but for a person in 1964, that's like very transactional. Why should I care about that? So what we started introducing some rules. The challenge there is, how do you balance this, right? You cannot just satisfy the older BITSians or the younger BITSians. You need to keep that mix of this well. So we introduced some rules. People had concerns. The simplest option was like, if politics was one of the things which happened a lot. I think there were a lot of people which had so much passionate discussions there. So we said, okay, this group shouldn't exist in this. We started created another group called BITSians for political discussion. So now that group has gone like way beyond control.
Yes.
But
I'm a part of it.
Yeah, me too.
yeah. But the good thing is we removed that chatter outside by not saying that your discussion is not welcome here. We said we created an avenue for you to discuss, while this mother group remains that thread that connects every one of us together. And this is also appearing, right? If you see offline scenario, also BITSAA is that mother organization which connects everyone. But then, as Divya was mentioning, there is always that connectivity. People don't connect over one mother thread. Like, not many people are members of BITSAA, but some people connect over music. Some people connect over their MBA description, as in what Anupendra was saying earlier, Yahoo groups, right? Bits to MBA, etc. So these smaller groups are all there, and this mother group is something which can connect people. Whenever something becomes too much of a spam in the group, what we started is slowly moving it out into the smaller groups. That way,
that's a good strategy.
Yeah.
There's WhatsApp groups as well. I'm a part of BITSians for social development, and there are like so many baby groups out there.
I think there are various local chapters. I think they have been building it up to a bigger organization, a bigger group. Also, like in terms of connecting people, I believe stories and like the gossip, as to say, that people have within their internal groups is something that definitely connects us. Like if I would give an example, a Mumbai chapter, we started having house parties recently, and I thought it's a much informal way to connect, in where like once people have the alcohol, and like we can definitely get all the secrets out. So like just to like end this in this section, this question is open to everybody. Like, you guys know each other. What's like the interesting and the funny stories that must have happened over the course of life? Anyone who like gives us the most interesting story, we'll put in a promo video, and like you will be the face of this video, and like that is what people will see. So that's the incentive right there to let out another secret. So like, go to you guys. We can start with Venu, considering that Venu knows most of the people.
I mean, yeah, like I'll tell you a funny story without naming names. Okay, this is it's actually coincidentally it happened during Voices, and there was a geeky guy. I'm told he was one batch junior, but maybe not. And during Rocktaves, he got a little, bold. He said, "I'm going to make my moves on a girl." So he went to Rocktaves, and he started like, rubbing shoulders, and slowly got a little frisky, right, with this girl. She might have been an outstation girl. And then the girl looked at him after a while, and she goes, "What are you doing?" Right? And he goes, "BE honors chemical engineering."
That was a nerdy response.
Professor Nattu, since you are the only one who taught here as well, so what is the most funny makeup excuse which ever came to you for T1 and T2?
No, please tell again. What funny?
So people ask for makeup requests, right? If they are not prepared for T1, T2s, and they request professors that, okay, we were sick, we were admitted in SARVI, and so on. So what was the most funny request which came up to you for a...
What is the most final request?
Funniest request.
Makeup.
Okay,
Funniest
I
request for
don't
makeup.
know. But I have, two things to make a state. One is there is a dearth of adjunct faculty at BITS Pilani. Two of my batchmates have joined as adjunct professors. I think people with 20 odd years experience, those who passed out in 90s and all, should all get together and become adjunct professors of BITS in different campuses. We very badly need it for global ranking, requires wide alumni spread and connectivity, and I think more alumni. See, you're not coming and taking class every day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 to 10 and correcting papers. Once in a while, you are giving a lecture on an expert topic, conduct a session through like this, the Zoom session or something. I think that is feasible. I would like, I'm looking at about 100 alumni, coming in the coming few months to become, so that next year in QS or Times Higher Education ranking, we come pretty high. Like IITs are all ducking from, participating. Let's take the, challenge forward. Second thing is, I want all the present generation alumni to read out the book, Stand Out, written by Dory Clark, Duke University. It tells how to connect alumni networks. Dory Clark stand out. I am going to buy a copy or two and gift it to BITS Pilani Library. Right. And I think, there is a lot more that can be achieved, but there are misunderstandings. Today, people are wondering about, more questions are asked about, what do you think about fees hike in Pilani? I keep telling, I don't bother about it as long as the reputation goes higher and higher. We don't care about what else goes, right? So, but that should go up. And we alumni have a big role, and alumni connectivity has a very big thing, industrial relations. We are strong, but still in global ranking, we are still talking about top ranking in India today, India yesterday. I think it's time to come out and say that we are top ranking in world today and world tomorrow. I think that's what I'll be happy to look at, and I'll do anything for it. And John B. Dedingi. Hello, thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah, great.
So Divya, what was in your batch? What was the most Krantikari story which happened around your time?
Krantikari, the best thing is, I think I carry the spirit of the women for each other, because ours was the batch. 2003 was the batch which had the highest number of women that Pilani campus ever saw. And beyond that, it's like the graph was like everything came up, and then we hit a peak, and then like from 2004 again the numbers came down. So
I'm glad I asked you this question. What is the number?
Exactly. So I think I carry the spirit of the fact that, I was surrounded with the maximum number of women the Pilani campus ever saw. And the fact that, we had to actually put 3 women in one room during the first year. And I didn't get like a single room until my 3rd year because of lack of rooms available for women at that time.
Yeah.
And I got so much support, especially from even the women professors back then. So Meenakshi Raman ma'am, Surekha Bhanot ma'am, and so many others. They were always there for us. And I think that's what I've carried in. And I think 2003 batch will always be remembered as the batch that had the highest number of women. I mean,
So
the guys were super lucky.
In my
Was
batch,
it the same for mechanical?
Even mechanical, we were 28 girls out of like 70.
That's too much.
Nice.
Yeah, the highest mechanical as well. We had our whole side section where like women used to sit, and even the professors used to be amazed that, how come mechanical so many girls chose. And I can tell you there were at least 3-4 girls in my batch who chose mechanical by choice. I was also mechanical by choice, in fact.
I think we should promote this, and like people should know that, okay, there were good times as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
That was a
my
really
batch,
I
we
think our
also
batch
had
had how
to
many?
do
80
a
women?
double sharing till 2nd year. And
3rd year. Mine
after
was
hearing
till
you,
3rd year.
I'm happy that, okay, we were just 2 girls, not 3.
So we were 3 girls in our first year because Meera Bhavan could not handle the influx of that many women.
And Malviya
can I
Bhavan
say
was
something?
a women's hostel that time. But
Yeah, at that time already there was Malviya.
Malviya Bhavan was a women's hostel. 2003 was. I didn't know. I thought 2004 had. We had more female than male. So that used to be our thing, that we have so many more females than male. 2004, I think, was very close to 2003 numbers.
Yeah, 3 and 4 were the highest amount of women.
Yeah,
Like,
3004 had.
But the next part of it, many people don't know. 2005, BITS landed up with BITSAA, and the girls' number came zoomed down to single digits percentage, 6%, 7%. And Malviya Bhavan, a great thing happened. A great wall of Berlin was built across Malviya Bhavan. Right?
Yes.
We divided the Bhavan into 2. Across the common room, a wall was built in which half of Malviya Bhavan was girls and the other half was boys.
Wow.
But
The
you
same
know
happened
what?
with Hyderabad
The
campus
second year,
recently as well.
MB banners.
Yeah.
No
We
one
used to
said
meet.
break the wall, Mr. President.
Yes, 2006, the wall was demolished and Malviya Bhavan became back to boys' hostel. So 2004,
And you know what?
5, 6.
Meera Bhavan became a guys' hostel. We used to, because I was in campus, we used to try to pass things through the wall to see so we have 9 Bhavans in Meera Bhavan, right? So the 9th Bhavan, you created a wall. So all of a sudden, even Meera Bhavan had guys in them. So we used to pass things across. I don't know if you remember that.
Did they have to
Times
go
really
and
changed.
did there curfew for the boys?
No, they created a second door for the other side of 9th ninth Bhavan. So they they broke one block of a bigger mall into guys and girls because the influx of guys was too much. And by then we were frustrated because till second year, we were sharing rooms, and all of a sudden first year had single rooms themselves. And we were like, damn, this is so unfair. And third year, we are still fighting for single rooms. And there are second years coming, first years coming, or juniors who have single rooms. Yeah, I know. It was such an unfair times.
Definitely the female candidates in the newer batches, I think they know the charm. Probably it was different when there were a lot of more.
What's the percentage of women now, Arya, at BITS?
It's still the ratio is 1:9.
1:9.
Yes.
Yes.
We had 60% women at my batch.
Yeah, we're always 50-60% women. Yeah.
60% women. We
Wow.
were higher women.
Wow.
Yeah.
My
I
batch is the
mean,
culture
I
there.
studied from
And the gate
2011
calls
to
were off the
2015.
roof.
I studied
I
from
think we should-
2011 to 2015, and we had a ratio of 1:6, 1:7.
I think we should change that.
87 was like
Definitely
30 to
BITS should
40%.
figure out a way to change that, because that's just terrible.
Yes.
I think
You know,
that's true
because,
with
and I
all
don't understand. I mean, BITSAT it doesn't make any sense, because the BITSAT is the exam. The time when we made that change happen, BITSA was really heavily involved in making sure we actually pushed. It became a little bit of a battle between BITSA and BITS at the time, and actually it became a conversation where the founders were involved. And then I spoke to Raghurama at the time, because we had a whole bunch of things we said that must happen so that the percentage of women who come to BITS should not go down. Because of this whole issue, it should not become an IIT. I mean, it sounds like it has in that respect. But we were the ones who said, please make sure that the toppers will always come, because the toppers are usually women, so you don't lose that. And do not, and then they put the 80% in. That was all part of this conversation at the time with Raghurama, to keep the 80% in so that women would still have a better shot at getting in. But sounds like even that hasn't worked, which is unfortunate.
The change which happened, I guess, is Pilani is also a factor, because Pilani, a lot of women parents, they think sending them to Pilani is a lot risky. And then the challenge is when it was there was no BITSAT and it was to 12th marks. For most of the students, that was the only option. But when it was BITSAT, these guys had more options. So parents used to send them to other colleges. But in Hyderabad, if you see the numbers wise, it's still not as good as pre-BITSAT, but it's still decent enough actually.
Yeah.
So what is the percentage at Hyderabad?
So Gaurav, I moderated a discussion on this topic in Dubai at the BGN. Okay. The issues are they're very nuanced. Okay.
Yeah.
So when a lot of the girls in our batch too, we had like 40%. The girls used to be from Tamil Nadu and Andhra. And these girls have found either BITS in Hyderabad, which is closer to the homes, or there are great colleges now that have emerged in these two states. And girls tend to go there, like SRM and Shasta, and there's some awesome colleges now. So it's not just the fact that BITSAT has kind of destroyed the ratio. It's because there are a lot more options available to girls who want to be engineers in those states. Having said that, we did come up with some constructive ideas through that panel. And I think, one of those ideas was we should be more than just engineering. We should be STEM. And when you do, when you kind of diversify, you hopefully will get a more diverse, mix of students too. I think we've somehow gotten distracted. I think we were talking about funny stories. And now I'm the idiot in the house. I shared like an embarrassing story.
No. It's a welcome story.
You were the only one who had that funny story.
Actually, adding to his point also, there were so many of my batchmates and they were all toppers and all from different schools. At least they were just toppers, right? They came and they would say back home, the education of what is IIT was well known. BITS was not well known. I'm not sure if today it has changed. A lot of them used to come and say, oh, I'm going to Rajasthan BITS Pilani, where they had to educate their parents to say, this is a good institute, let me go.
Yeah.
And where the relatives would come and say, oh, what happened? Did you get very bad marks? You have to go so far away to Rajasthan. And this was common among, wing discussion, because we had a lot of women, as said. So there was a lot of, it was not well known that women were going so far. So with the marks, there was a lot of you had to convince. Where IITs was well known, BITS was not well known. It was not recognized. People only on the top elite used to know. Not everywhere, especially in the second tier cities and all, it was not at all known, at least 2004, 5, 6. So even that could be a big factor. When you are writing an exam, you're writing IIT exam, you are writing AIEEE, you are writing the local exam, which is Tamil Nadu TN exam. Why write the BITSAT itself when it's not very well known?
That's true. Like AIEEE also came out the same time. So then people started realizing there are a lot more engineering colleges available.
Yes.
All over the place.
Yeah. Because this used to be applied for marks and all.
Okay, so like, do you guys think that location, like the location of BITS in general of all 3 campuses is also a problem? Because like the point that you mentioned that parents are usually hesitant to send their girls to, say, Pilani, like because of the routing. Same is the case when they have to send their girls to Goa, because like all the the orthodox. Yes.
Honestly, Tamil Nadu will just write the TNSE, the local exam, and get Anna University exam and get the students there. That is a preferred method. There are good colleges there. Why not? IIT is well known. The branding, it's just branding. Why then send for IITs or IIMs also? It's branding somewhere.
I can speak of that as a parent right
why
now.
couldn't BITS, just like you have the GRE and GMAT, why couldn't BITS,
They
if
are
we really
actually
want to
doing
work to improve the ratios, why don't we accept the IEEE score, the IIT score, and the Tamil Nadu, Andhra scores as well? Like,
I think
why
that's
not?
a different discussion together.
I'm just saying,
that's a huge topic.
I would love for this discussion to make the ratio 50-50. Like, my son's going to Cornell, and Cornell made a big effort to say we'll have equal number of women and men at the engineering school. So Cornell's actually engineering school is 53% women, which is like unheard of.
Actually,
Somebody
I
has
have
to
got
make
questions very recently. I have had women reach out to me because I'm the moderator for the women group. People reach out to me and ask, is BITSAA doing something for, the gender ratio in the campuses?
Yes, recently there is a group that reached out to us.
Just last week, you saw that as well, right? You saw that.
I was also responding in that, right? So there are women who said, what can we do? Because this is not a ratio that they see only in BITS. They see it in competitive examining. So the question that I had put forward was, is it because of the way we evaluate who should come in itself probably is unfair, because everywhere we see there is a ratio dip. You have to do something to equate it. So that's the whole testing syllabus. I mean, the way it is approached itself is wrong.
So here, BITSAA had from 2009 onwards, Let's Go to BITS Pilani campaign. So various chapters were encouraged. They were given a standard deck with the latest numbers of the events at BITS Pilani, the admissions and various stuff. And the alumni were encouraged to go back to their schools during the summer and do it. In Chennai, we did it twice, but after that, it didn't materialize at all. So the point here is there are formats available which we can do and we can promote, because essentially this promotion has to take place when they finish their class 11, because we can't go to BITS and say do this. That's not our game. They have to apply for the BITSAT in December. So that summer we should do the education and orientation and tell them, like, look, BITS is a wonderful opportunity place. The facilities are there. Your kids will be safe. The alumni will have to send out that messaging. And what we did in Chennai was some of our senior alumni spoke about various other issues. We had the recent pass outs speak about their campus experiences. See, my campus experience is 20 years away. The guy who graduates now is the most recent. So we divided and we did it, and it was not carried through to a great extent. So we can revive that. I'm happy to take it on the table and push it and see that that's done. At least from now on, we can do that. But Anupendra, one point that you have that I want to mention with you is the BITS wanted to be equated with the IIT for the entrance exam. the IITs did not want to accept BITS, so BITS had to go a separate route. The IIEEE colleges were not on par with BITS if you look at it in any way, so BITS didn't want to ally itself with IIEEE. This was the Indian scenario why BITS had a BITS Act. BITS was happy to tell there was a court issue involved in this. BITS was happy to tell the court that you put BITS and IIT together, we'll all accept one test score. But the IITs were not willing to come forward to that. So that's an issue. Anyway, this is history. So, but that's something that happened. We can still see how open universities are here. Yeah, go ahead. I thought we were talking funny stories.
Yeah, I think like let's get back to the funny stories. We can have like another call.
Can I give you a challenge here? How many people here had a makeup request signed by the Dero?
What
is that?
What
I had my DCO's makeup request signed by the Dero.
Wow.
So,
I was sent out of the campus for 2 weeks on some social outing. And this was the request of the VIP who wanted me to accompany him on a tour in Rajasthan. So I told the Dero, sir, Professor Wade's DCO's test 1 is coming up in Feb and I will not be on campus. Oh, no, I will tell him you go.
I mean, fortunately,
I did have a makeup story, a makeup test.
So the point was the original makeup score would have also been a 3 out of 20. This makeup score was also 3 out of 20. Don't listen.
Yeah, I guess my funny story is when I repeated a test and I actually had a C when I did it the first time. And I ended up making a D the next time that I took it. So I realized that you put your best effort the first time, and then that you continue. You leave it behind. That's how I've dealt with life since then.
So on the same front, let me tell you what my wingies used to. My wingies used to be surprised at me. I sleep at 9 in the night and I wake up at 4 in the morning to study. That was my studying habit.
Wow.
So I had people. Slipping notes. Hey, Chimpu, I trust you with my life. I have this exam. Please come and wake me up. This was all over the hostel. If it was within your bhavan, it was fine. In my final year, in my second year, I was in Shankar and some senior from RP comes and slips a note in my room saying, this is a matter of life and death. Come and wake me up. So, I mean, I did it because why should we go and trouble a guy who wants to study and do it? But then what happened was, if you look at the wing scores, the guy studied till 4 in the morning, got up at 8 and went for a 10 o'clock test, still scored 4. I slept between 9 and 4 in the morning, 9 in the night and 4 in the morning, had a good sleep. I still scored a 2 or a 3. So what are the studying a night out of studying? I mean, the entire wing was jealous. It's not that any one of us was brilliant or anything, but that was the great leveler, we had fun.
So Srikanth, this brings me to a question. Like earlier, we didn't have mobile phones or something like that, and I'm not quite sure how if everyone had their own small alarm clock. So how did you ensure that you wake up on time or like do things?
No, alarm clock.
Okay.
We all had not small alarm clock. It was the teeny metallic alarm clock.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that one.
So an alarm clock going off will go all over the hostel.
Okay, that's nice.
One person or else will come and bang the doors.
Let me tell you the fun part of it here. The fun part of it here is, in our final year, we had one of our wingies was, extended by a semester. So while we were in our 4th year, he was still completing his 3rd year courses. So he came up and said, hey, tomorrow we have this test. Will you guys wake me up? So we were doing 2 courses and he was doing this 4. So next day morning, all of us had his timetable with us. We were enthused to see that he gets through this semester. So we all banged on his wall, 8 o'clock in the morning, made him go to the mess and go to the examination room. He comes back willing to murder all of us. It turned out we woke him up one day too early. So I can't tell who the professor was or the student was. Gaurav, in those days, we had this norm, if you remember, if the prof didn't come into the classroom in 5 minutes, the class would walk out.
Yes.
Yeah. So this was the norm. I mean, if you are not on time to your class, the kids will walk out.
Yes,
Nice.
even
Yeah.
we did
I can
in
imagine us doing that.
2010s or
That's
Yeah,
only for the
yeah.
students who
Yeah.
went to the class. There were few who didn't even go to the
Exactly.
class.
Yes, lots of them. And we would meet our own batchmates saying, "Oh, you have a class, I have a class, but we are in the hostel." It was very regular.
Oh, you're in Skylab, not in the hostel.
And we had two
Yeah,
types of timetables,
precisely.
right? And we had two types of timetables, right? One was the registered timetable, which was important for tuitions, exams, tutes, and all. We had this concept for tutes once a week or once in 4 weeks or something like that. And then you have the attending timetable where we would go. So you'll have those professors' classes where it's bursting with, say, 100, 200, 300 students. Now, in the fourth year, they bought lecture halls. Yeah, hundreds. And we are all sitting in the wall, sitting on the floor, taking notes. And there are few professors, yes. And there are few professors I would actually feel bad. They would see their students only once a month when there was this test exam and all, and people will message saying, "Hey, I think there's an exam right now in this class," and everyone will come rushing in 20 minutes after it. And the professor were like, "Okay, welcome." That's about it, right?
I mean,
I
hearing
don't
all
think
the
it was
stories,
interesting.
I can say all after hearing the stories and conversation that Bits Pilani is truly magic, and this conversation can go on and on and on. I mean, I can say that it's already quite late in the Eastern time, and we already had more than what we bargained for. So I think we can move towards a formal closure, and I thank you everyone for being here.